Hello again and welcome to video number 4 in the series of making moving pictures on a DSLR stills camera. Hope you're enjoying it so far. Hopefully it's not too taxing for you. Now we'll get to the nitty gritty of actually choosing video cameras for your production. I am John Keedwell. I am the founder of the Epix Academy and the Epix Vision Academy, which are a hands-on, hopefully I'll see you there for years. Anyway, much further ado. A little bit about the Canon 5D. This is the Mark III version. This is, when people talk about film on DSLR cameras, most people think of the 5D. Now the Mark I has been around since September 2008, so it's 6 years old almost. Obviously the Mark II and the Mark I are, well, I don't think the Mark I's available now, I think maybe second hand, and I think the Mark II is available second hand. I don't think they sell it anymore. Canon obviously want you to buy the Mark III. Now there are some improvements to the Mark III, obviously from the Mark II in terms of video. I'll go to this in a little while, but initially the benefits generally for shooting on a DSLR camera are cost, because you probably have it available already, potentially. The size of the camera is actually relatively small compared to many video cameras, and the fact it has a large sensor, which means several things really. You have low noise in the black areas, which when you start blowing it up to large screen formats is a bit of an issue. If you've got noise, it's like grain, or crawling grain if you like in film terms. So it's very good low light performance, because it stands to reason really. The bigger sensor, the more light you potentially hitting a pixel. So you can actually shoot with very low light with this camera. It can shoot to 25,600 ISO, which is phenomenal. The size of the sensor determines the cinematic look and feel. I'll go into this in a little bit more in detail later in another video, but the bigger the sensor, inherently the less depth of field, or what is actually in focus with any given angle of view. What that means is it gives a feel to the thing, it tells them what to look at, and it gives that cinematic look that we've used to in the cinema for quite a few years. Now the reason why it looks like this with the low depth of field is because film cameras have a 35mm film size. It's one of these things that's developed over years. I won't go into the history of it, but it gives a good compromise between size of film and quality, and actually it gives a very similar look to what you actually see with your eye. Another very good reason to use a DSLR camera for movies is the fact that lenses are relatively low priced and they are good quality. I'll get to this in a little while. There's a caveat to that, where cine lenses do different things to stills lenses, and in many ways it's better to put a cine lens on if you're doing a production. The good thing about this DSLR camera is that you can actually blend in with a crowd, and it doesn't draw attention to yourself quite as much as a cine camera. So you can actually shoot a video on it and people just think you're shooting a few stills. So that's one great advantage for documentary people. The beauty of it is it's actually small enough for use with small camera sliders for a few £100s, and you get a little camera movement for, you don't need a big dolly to put them on. So that's Canon 5D Mark III. There are other cameras available. This one seems to be the most favourite for movie makers. A little bit about a history of DSLRs on cinema. This sequence here, which I'm sure you know, is one of the matrix sequences, and the effect where it tends to freeze time. It's called a bullet time effect. The pictures on the top right, where the black circles are actually the lenses poking through of several hundred DSLR cameras. You'll see the picture in the middle on the right there. What happens there is they trigger the camera, and you can actually effectively move around a subject at the same time, because you're creating a series of pictures that you can move around at will. Ultimately, stills cameras have been used in many films. I think one goes back as far as I can remember in the Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, the mine sequence where they went down a mine. As a chase, they put a VistaVision back on a modified Nikon on a model mine sequence, and they just basically pushed this camera down a hill and shot a very low frame rate, and that's where you can speed up the mine sequence. So if you look at it with that in mind, there's actually a small camera and some little dolls there. Perhaps in recent years, 127 hours, Canon and other cameras were used for the sequence where the man got stuck down a hole with the boulder. If you haven't seen the film, I won't spoil it, but go and see it. It's actually a very interesting film, the way it's shot. Also, Slumdog Millionaire, they use a silicon imaging 2K sensor in a Canon body, and more recently Captain America, some sequences mainly used for background plates or car shots, because the resolution is so much higher on a stills DSLR camera than most video cameras. I'll go to this in a minute, but the resolution on a 5D is 3 times vertical what a high-end video camera will do now. So it's very good for shooting high resolution background plates and shooting high quality in small spaces, as you can see from the bottom right. So that's the end of this little excerpt, but this is John Keedwell signing off, and I shall wait for you in the next video. The membership site here now is available for your delectation, and the Epix Academy is available for you if you want hands-on video techniques. And I can be reached at the email at the bottom of the screen.